Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm sure you all are doing great. Okay, so apart from your regular studies, I'm sure you are listening to songs which you all love. You must be listening to Hindi song, Tibetan song, English song, and Korean, and so many other languages. Well, these songs, these songs are just poems, isn't it? So indirectly you were reading so many poems. But what is so special about these poems? Well, these poems has literary devices, as I've already explained in my earlier video. Now today I'm going to introduce you to some of the literary devices that you will find in the poems. Okay? Yes. So let us study about literary device and let us try to get the meaning of what literary device is. Well, literary devices are devices used by the poets in their poems. It is also called figure of speech, and we find lots of them in our poems. So let us try to learn some of the literary devices with examples. Okay, we are going to do rhyming words, alliteration, simile, metaphor, personification, and imagery. Okay, so let us start from rhyming words. I'm sure you all are familiar with what rhyming word is. Rhyming word means same ending sound. Rhyming word are the words which ends in the same sound. So let us try to take an example. And I have here one poem from William Wordsworth, which you might have read earlier. Okay, the name of the poem is Daffodils. Okay, so let us see the rhyming words in this poem. I'm going to recite this. You can also recite if you like. Daffodils. I wandered lordly as a cloud that floats over high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Okay, so this is a short poem here. Okay, so if you look at the words which are colored, okay, cloud and crowd, they are rhyming word. Hills and daffodils, rhyming word. Trees and breeze, rhyming word. Now these are called rhyming words. Okay, let us take another example. I have here a poem on trees. Let us see. Trees. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. Poems are made by fools like me, and only God can make me a tree. Now, if you look at this poem, you see the rhyming words. See tree. Can you read the other rhyming word? Press, press. Good. Next. Day and pray. Next, me and tree. Okay, now this is about rhyming words. So during your free time, please try to listen to a song or you just read one poem and try to identify the rhyming words used in the poem. Okay, now let us move on to the next. We have alliteration. Now, what is alliteration? Alliteration is a word which has got a same beginning sound. You know, rhyming word, it's a word having same ending sound, but alliteration, it's a word with the same beginning sound. And you can use this in almost all the languages. In Tibetan, we also use, especially for the news headline. For example, New York mare, New York re. Lusa mare, lesser re. Okay, we have got so many examples like this. Okay, now this is a typical example of alliteration. Now you just look at the Hindi poem or other which are regional poems like this. Okay, yes. So today, the example for alliteration, we have a poem from Pujung Di Sonam, a Tibetan poet. I've tried my best to take example from the poems which are written by Tibetan which is a poet. Okay, the name of the poem is March for Freedom, which is also translated, which also came in a song form. Okay, so March for Freedom. For the cage and confine, always searching for freedom, let us wipe away their tears. Let us take them to the high land of freedom. Hand in hand we stand, shoulder to shoulder we march, heart to heart we reach, for peace, for justice, and for freedom. Okay, now you just look at this. If you pay attention to one single line, for the cage confined. Okay, the cage and confined. The both these words starts with the same ka sound. Always searching for freedom, for and freedom, same beginning sound. Let's wipe away their and tears, same T sound. Okay, hand in hand, same, shoulder to shoulder, as, heart to heart, ha ha. Okay, for peace, for justice, for freedom, for freedom, for freedom. Both these words, the starting sound is F. Okay, so this is an example of alliteration. Okay, so you just try to go through a small poem or a song and try to identify the alliteration used in that thing. Okay, now let us move on to the next, and that is simile. And I'm sure you knows what simile is. Okay, so what is a simile? Simile is making a comparison by using words like and as. You compare something to something with the help of the word like and as. Okay, so here I've taken an example of William Wordsworth poem, Same Daffodils. Okay, so I'm going to read this. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats over high over vales and hills. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretch upon never-ending line along the margin of bay. Okay, now if you look at these things, uh, first line, I wandered lonely as a cloud. So I, the poet, wandered lonely as a cloud. He is comparing himself to the cloud, how the cloud wanders. Okay, so he is comparing himself to the cloud which wanders here and there. Okay, and the second one continues as the stars. Okay, oh yes, continues. The stars are continuous. So he is also comparing, what should I say, these flowers to the stars which are continuous. Just like the stars are continuous, these flowers are also continuous. So this is a simile. Okay, so I'm just telling you about the song again and again, because in the songs there are so many literary devices, there are so many which are beautiful lines you will find in the songs. So in Tibetan we have so many similes. If you listen to Tibetan song, you will come across so many similes. Okay, uh, for example, one simple line. Okay, Zema kuki laktini chuki shintu karsermar. Okay, Zema kuki laktini chuki shintu. Shintu means comparing, isn't it? So this is just a small example. Okay. Oh yes. Next, the simile example next. Okay. Oh, the storm. There is a poem named Storm by Anonymous. Okay. Storm looks like a puddle in the sky and smells like a moldy leather. It sounds like a giant stomach rumbling and feels like being turned inside out. Okay, so if you look at this line, you see extensive use of the word like. Okay, now this is a very good example of the simile poem. Okay, looks like a puddle, smells like, sounds like, feels like. So there is lots and lots of comparison made. So this is an example of simile. Okay, so in your free time, try to find some poem which has got simile, or you can write a stanza or two stanza by using a simile. Okay, yes. And next is metaphor. So metaphor and simile are quite similar, isn't it? So metaphor is again a comparison. Simile is also a comparison. But the only difference is metaphor is not using the words like and as to compare. For example, he is my oxygen. Okay, that is a metaphor. And he is like my oxygen. This is a simile. Okay, so otherwise, metaphor and simile, they both work same. That is to compare. But simile use words. Okay, like and as. Okay, so let us try to see the example of metaphor. A poem, a song. Okay, a poem written by again Pujung D. Sonam. All my moments belong to you, and I'm lonely still, enveloped in the smoke of your shadow, like a dandelion under a tree. My head swells with your thought, and my heart empty still, left behind your pack of mares like a hoofless donkey. You are a spotless distant moon, I am a pebble on the shore waiting for the next wave. Okay, now if you look at this poem, you see the last three lines. You are a spotless distant moon. So the poet is comparing that you to distant moon, but here he is not using a word like and as. He is not saying you are like a spotless distant moon, but he's saying you are spotless distant. Okay, and likewise you look at the next line. I am a pebble on a shore. Now poet is not saying I am like a pebble on a shore, but there is a direct comparison without using like and as. So this is an example of metaphor. Okay, yes, again, if you listen to a song or if you come across a poem, you just try to identify the metaphor, or you just write one or two stanzas using a metaphor in your poem. Okay, next is personification. So personification is giving human qualities to inanimate object. Inanimate objects behave like a human being. For example, inanimate object, any object, book or glass or pencil like this, they are, what should I say, inanimate object. They do not have the human quality like talking and sleeping and shouting, going, eating like this. But through this poem, the writers, they give human qualities to these objects. Okay, so let us take an example of Tenzin Suntula's poem, When It Rains in Dharamsala. So let us see how he has used the personification in this poem. When it rains in Dharamsala, raindrops were boxing globes. Thousands of them came crashing down and beat my room. Under its tin roof, my room cries for insight and wets my bed, my papers. Sometimes the clever rain comes from behind my room, and the treacherous wall lifts their heels and allow a small flood into my room. Okay, now if you look at this poem, he has used extensive which is personification. Okay, when it rains in Dharamsala, raindrops wear, raindrops. He's not a human being. They cannot wear boxing gloves. But here personification is being used. So raindrops wear boxing gloves, raindrops come crashing down, raindrop beat my room, no? Crushing, wear, beat, cries, wats, comes, lives, allow, all these are human qualities. Okay, so all these qualities are given to the inanimate object, and here in this poem, the inanimate is rain. Okay, so the rain wear boxing gloves, the rain come, the rain beat my. So these are an example of personification. Okay, so even if you remember a Tibetan, okay, Sempatyo Kecha, Rimadabla Shebes, Riusadoia, Koi Juk Chisus. Okay, yes. So when you share your sad stories, okay, even the mountains and the rock, they also empathize with you, and then they nod their head like this. So this is just a personification. So there are so many personification examples in almost all the languages. Okay, yes. So next time when you listen to song or which is when you write a poem or when you come across a poem, please try to identify the personification. Even in your English textbook, you just go through all the poems and see what are the literary devices you can identify. Okay? Yes. And another personification example, okay, again, a poem from Pujungdi Sonam, a song from a distance. My body is trapped in a heated room. Light shines from the ceiling. A leather sofa invites me to let my spine relax. But my heart runs to that river by the village, that bridge made of leather thongs, rocking with the wind, that dusty yard where I was tied to a boulder while Mama worked in the field every day. Here, grey houses stare at me, the people on the train. Okay, now if you look at this thing, okay, I want you to look at the line, a leather sofa invites me. Okay, so leather sofa, it's not a human being, well, but here the leather sofa invites me. Okay, invites is a human quality. My heart runs. Okay, my heart cannot run. Run is a which is a quality of a human being. Okay, so my heart runs. You look at the last line. Grey houses stare at me. The houses will never stare at you. They are inanimate object, but still the human qualities are given. Okay, now this is an example of personification. Okay, yes. And last but not the least, we have the imagery. Okay, imagery. Imagery is word used to appeal for the different senses. We have got so many sense organs. Okay, so some words they appeal to our senses. We can also feel, we can also hear, we can also see better. Okay, now this is imagery. Okay, there is one example of imagery. There is a poem by Champasina. The name of the poem is Siesta. So let us try to read this poem. Okay. After lunch, when the flies had ceased buzzing over the food-littered floor, and the air was still and heavy, when only the soft plop of drops from a leaky tap into a half-filled tin pail broke the quiet, my wrinkled grandmother would ask me to comb her long wet hair, and as the comb furrowed through the dark shining mass, and the smell of the coconut hair oil mingled with the warmth of the midday sunshine. Okay, now if you look at this poem, you will find extensive use of imagery. For example, instead of saying dirty floor, we see food littered floor. The floor is filled with lots and lots of food left over. The air was still and heavy. Okay, we can visualize all these things. And the leaky tap, that tap which is not properly which you put up. Okay, so it's leaking. My wrinkled grandmother, instead of saying my old grandmother, we cannot imagine anything. But if we write wrinkled grandmother, somehow we get some kind of picture. And her long wet hair. And likewise, warmth of the midday sunshine. Midday, it will be very warm. Okay, now we cannot understand the warmth. So the warmth of the midday sun. So here the poet has tried to use the imagery. She was trying to give us a clear picture of the situation at that time. Okay, so these are some of the literary devices. I'm sure you are familiar with all these literary devices. You have been studying lots and lots of poems, and in all the poems you will come across these literary devices. Nevertheless, I've just prepared this lesson so that it becomes a recapitulation for you. Okay, yes. So through this video, I just want to give you a small assignment. Okay, whether you read, what should I say, poems, or whether you write poems, or you listen to a song, because in the song there are so many literary devices. Okay, you can listen to any kind of songs. Okay, yes, and after listening, at least try to identify some of the literary devices that I've introduced in this class. Okay, so if you have got any which is assignment done, then you are most welcome to send it to me either through my email or my WhatsApp number, which is already down there. Okay, so I wish you all the best and try to, what should I say, go through the lessons that I've already uploaded. Okay, yes, thank you. Be safe.